take him to the ground. Whoa!
Oof, you gotta watch out for those sneaky left hooks, and there were plenty of other sneaky knockouts this week, including a few surprise knees to the face, my personal favorite head kicks as always, and even multiple slam KOs, so you know it's gonna be a good week when we have all of those. But let's jump to our fan comment of the week, which goes to Luke Akers, and yeah, this calf slicer and rear naked choke from last week definitely was one of our most creative and unique submissions we've seen in a while, so Luke's comment just fit perfectly because Mahmoud Ahmed decided one submission wasn't enough, so he pulls both of these off to force a tap and secure this win in beautiful fashion. What's going on, everyone? It's the Casual, Lawton Veerkant, and this is Caposa's Corner. Kicking us off this week, we're heading to ACA 147 in Russia, where we have a lightweight matchup that sees Zhurabek Teshaboev with just an 8-4 record, and he's taking on Herbert Batista, who has a very nice 15-4. So it only makes sense to start these videos off with a devastating knockout, and as we just pass over the halfway mark of round 1, well, the only adjective Caposa described this one with was clean.
Пытается зарубиться Герберт Батиста.
Да, просто машиноподобно выглядит сейчас.
And clean it was, because Batista was just slowly pushing him back against the cage, and when he starts this final sequence, this last right hook just folds him like a chair, and thankfully the ref was right there. And he also had some restraint to hold off on the extra ground and pound that just wasn't needed. So yeah, this win now puts him at a 16-4, and although a lot of those wins were in the regional scene back in Brazil, ACA isn't exactly a small-time promotion, so with a few more quick and impressive wins like this one, he could definitely be on the eyes of some more promotions here soon. Next up, we're going to check out MMA Series 59, also in Russia, where we have 2 fights to show you. For the first, might as well, let's dive straight into Caposa's hand-picked submission of the week. Here we have another lightweight bout between Vyacheslav Somsel, sitting at a clean 3-0 record, and he's up against Leonardo Cassotti, who has an 8-2, and if you're recognizing him, yeah, this is our calf slicer submission artist of the month last month, and that fight was literally just 2 weeks ago, and he's already back in the cage. Talk about some dedication. So right at a minute into this one, we do end up going to the canvas, and Somsel is on the receiving end of some big hammer fist, but there's no way Cassotti wins multiple submission awards this close together, right?
Начинает он скручивать пятку, перекручивается и все! Вот это да!
Well, I'll be damned. I may have spoken too soon, because he does in fact win this one, and does it with this nasty knee bar that he has no choice but to tap to. And although his last win was definitely a more unique submission with the calf slicer, knee bars aren't exactly the most common ones either. So he now gets to be deemed our first 2-time submission of the week winner, and the fact that they were only 2 weeks apart makes it that much more impressive. He's also sitting at a now 9-2 record, and if you remember from last week, all 9 of his wins now have been in a row, so yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Cassotti decides to fight again here in a few weeks, and hell, maybe he'll take our Prospect of the Week title that time. And for our second fight at MMA Series 59, we have a light heavyweight matchup between Ami Nouri with a 6-2 record, and his opponent, Kodiaran Ganiev, has just a 7-4. Haha, this was a personal favorite of mine, and I'll tell you why soon, but the whole fight only lasts 12 seconds, so just take a look. My guy dropped him so hard that the live camera angle literally shook upon impact, and you can see it right here. And if that initial right hook wasn't deadly enough, why not throw 2 more massive ones on the ground just for safe measure? I know we weren't working with the greatest records in this fight, but the power Ganiev showed in this one is definitely worthy of being on this show, and this win does improve him to an 8-4. So hopefully he gains some more momentum from this quick first round finish and can land some more in his near future. Off to visit Georgian Fighting Championship 18 in the country of Georgia, where we have a bantamweight fight that sees Harutyan Harutyunyan. That was a fun one to pronounce, and he has just a 1-0 record, and his opponent, Gocha Shainidze, who also only has a 1-0 record. So as soon as this fight begins, we make our way down to the canvas via takedown from Shainidze, but he may end up regretting that one because, oh yeah, Harutyan quickly secures the rare and coveted Buggy choke, but for some reason he's not tapping to it, and oh my, he decides to try a slam or two to see if that'll counter the Buggy choke, and although the slams progressively get harder and harder, I just don't know if it's gonna work against this. Holy wow. Well, I guess if you do get slammed a total of 6 times, one of those is bound to rock you, and this final one definitely did, as you saw the buggy choke release, and then the undefended ground and pound was all that was needed to force the ref to step in. I told you in the intro we had a few slam KOs this week, and what a great first one to show you, because when I first saw this video and saw the buggy choke, I thought for sure that was going to be the winner, but nope, Shinidze kept his composure, somehow found the strength to stand up and slam him 6 times, and boy did it pay off, because he secured the win and keeps his record clean at 2-0. Now we're going to head to King of Kings 104 Mega Series in Lithuania, where we have a middleweight bout between Montas contra Tavicius. That was another fun one to say, and he has just a clean 2-0, and his opponent Nikolai Garbuz has a 13-5. So this is another quick one, 6 seconds to be exact, so yeah, just take a look real quick.
Round one. And a touch of gloves, and here we go. You can already see how aggressive. Oh, good night. Good night.
I mean, I don't even know what to say about that one. That was a pretty clean and quick win, and the first thing thrown in this fight is this huge flying knee from Montas that just makes direct contact to the left ear, collapsing his legs, and then the ground and pound is short-lived because the ref is right there and he's seen enough. And I couldn't find many details, but Montas does have some kickboxing experience despite his now 3-0 MMA record, so maybe his fight IQ is pretty high because of that, because this matchup didn't seem to make sense at first, but he didn't care, and he came out and won this thing in 6 seconds, so props to Montas. Up next, we're heading to Extreme Fighting Championship 99 in South Africa, where, yeah, it's about time. Let's go ahead and take a look at Caposa's KO of the week. Here we have a featherweight fight that sees David Mambo, who is just making his pro debut, and his opponent, Katiso Matime, has just an 0-2 record. So just over halfway into this fight, Mambo gets a nice takedown, but that almost backfires as it turns into an armbar, but it wasn't quite there, and remember how I said we have another slam KO this week?
Great bit of defense there by David Mambo. What a slam!
Again. What a
he's
slam.
out.
What a power bomb. And he's out.
Holy slam KO indeed. I know our other one took a few tries, but nope, not this one. Mambo, while being held in this triangle, decides, I guess I could stand up and slam him real quick, and that he does, and you can see that it just instantly puts Matime to sleep, and again, thankfully the ground and pound was short-lived because, I mean, yeah, he was out. That is definitely one way to make your professional debut, and Mambo did have a 7-1-1 amateur record, which obviously isn't bad at all, so we could definitely be seeing the beginning of a very solid fighter, but only time will tell, so congrats to Mambo for winning our KO of the Week award. Let's pay a visit now to our good friends at Cage Warriors 145 in England, where we are not slowing down because now it is time to look at Caposa's prospect of the week. Here we have the main event featherweight title fight that sees Paul Hughes, the current interim champ, sitting at an 8-1 record, and he's taking on Jordan Vucenic, the current featherweight champ, who had an injury earlier this year, which prompted Hughes' interim fight, and he's sitting at a 9-1 record. Oh boy, I am excited. We've got a title unification match, and Vucenic is the only loss on Hughes' record, so we've got that little bit of revenge factor in there, and the records are almost identical, so I can't even trick you all and act like the worst fighter will win because these two are just too close. And I will admit this fight does go to a decision, but it was 25 minutes of just pure determination from both fighters, and Vucenic actually gets cut at the end of the 3rd round, but that doesn't stop either of them because in the 4th, both guys have some solid exchanges, but Vucenic is just leaking from that cut over his right eye and actually gets a new cut right on the bridge of his nose, but holy hell, we are still going. And the 5th round was almost identical to the last, so we finally go to the judges' scorecards. And Paul Hughes is the new Cage Warriors featherweight champ, so let's talk. Caposa said Hughes has been a potential prospect since his pro debut in Bama back in 2017, where since then, out of his 10 fights, 6 of them have been via stoppage, and never going past the 3rd round, and he also just proved that he's better than the only loss on his record, and you combine that with him now being the Cage Warriors featherweight champ? Yeah, I think it's safe to say the UFC is definitely in this guy's future because all of his fights have shown his well-roundedness, whether whether the fight stays on the feet or goes to the ground. And endurance is obviously not an issue since his fights that have gone to a decision, he seemed to be dominating the entire time. And I personally am excited to see what Hughes' next step is, so I will be keeping an eye out, and congrats one more time for winning our Prospect of the Week award. Moving on, we're gonna head to LFA 146 in Brazil, where we have the main event featherweight bout that sees Gabriel Santos with a very clean 8-0 record, and he's taking on Marcio Barbosa, who has a 13-1 record and was actually one of our Prospects of the Week back in May of this year. So this was a busy one. Just 1 minute into this fight, Santos gets dropped by this huge right hand, and man, it is not looking good, and honestly, hindsight, I think most refs would have stopped it during this ground and pound, but for some reason this ref doesn't, and we do end up making it back to the feet, and Santos is just getting a beating put on him until he actually secures a takedown of his own, but then we go right back to the beating, and we actually finish this first round with Santos on the back of Barbosa, and wow, that was a busy first round. So now we jump to the second round, and surely they can't do another insane round like that, right?
Gabriel Santos got that rock! Look at that head kick coming in snap! Gabriel Santos gets the win!
8 seconds into the second round, and wow, I still do not know how Santos survived the first, but he came out in the second and throws his head kick almost immediately that sends him down, and the swarm after is finally all that it takes for this one to get a stop. I obviously couldn't show you guys the entire first round, but you should do yourself a favor and go take 5 minutes and watch it all, because Santos just did not look good after the beating he was taking. So the fact that he came out in the second and pulls off this win in just 9 seconds, well, it just makes his comeback victory that much sweeter. And to top it off, this win does keep his record clean at 9-0, and with the determination he showed in this one, well, I would not be surprised if some more crazy comeback wins are in his future. Still going, we're gonna head to Budo Sento Championship 11 in Mexico, where we have another featherweight matchup between Luis Cerrone with just an 8-4 record, and he's up against Darian Calzada, who has a 4-1. So this one may look familiar from the intro, but as we just near the 2-minute mark of the first round, well, yeah, here's what happens.
Connect those blows to short distance and try to take him to the ground.
Incredible knockout by Luis.
Oh yeah, a huge left hook from Cerrone, followed by an almost Dan Hendo special. He just forgot the midair leap, but that is all this one takes, and we have our winner. This is another one where I just don't know what to really say, because it was so clean, and I mean, the left hook alone was all this one needed, because as soon as it connects, he just timbers back to the canvas, but the hammer fist does sneak in before the ref can get over to him. So congrats to Cerrone on this win and for improving his record to 9-4. And for our last fight this week, we're heading to our good friends at B2 Fighting Series 177 in Iowa, where we have an amateur featherweight matchup that sees Dakari Rosby sitting at an even 2-2 record, and his opponent, Yasir Ramos, is just making his amateur debut. So we've got another quick one to end the week on, 48 seconds to be exact, and this is truly one of those ones that you don't see very often. Does that count as a slam KO? Because I didn't group it with the other two we had this week, but yeah, you saw that right. On the takedown, or more so the fall down between the two guys, Ramos is just in a bad position because he slams his head on the canvas, instantly putting him to sleep, and I honestly think everyone is confused for a second. But Rosby takes a look and decides to sneak in the 2 hammer fists before this one is called off. I don't recall ever seeing a takedown KO. Like I said, we had these slam KOs earlier, but those were much more intentional. This one just seemed to be a happy accident while Rosby was taking him down because of the way he landed. But hey, a win's a win, right? So congrats to Rosby on improving his record to 3-2 and for closing us out this week. Another week down and 3 more fights added to the board, so here is your weekly reminder to leave a comment down below voting for your favorite KO, sub, and prospect for the month of November, because we still have 2 more weeks for the month, so make sure you keep your eyes out for the remaining videos. And as always, we want to say a huge thank you to Caposa for helping us with these videos, so go give him a follow on his Twitter at Grabaka_Hitman if you already don't, and you can always show him some support by checking out his Patreon at patreon.com/Caposa, and if you want to watch all of these events live every single week, well, head on over to Grabaka_Hitman, where he posts weekly live schedules and the easiest ways to watch all of these amazing events. And we just simply couldn't do these videos if these promotions didn't host these events all year round, so video, we want to say a huge thank you to them, and to the fighters, winners, and losers, and we will see you all on the next video. Peace!